Hey everyone, my name is Brian Howard. I'm a Calgary realtor who has sold an average of a house a week since moving to this great city in 2003. And this is Calgary Living. Calgary Living, Real Estate and Lifestyle. I'm interviewing Calgary's top performers as it relates to living and lifestyle in our great city. Some of the podcasts will be real estate decision specific, but most will be about life in Calgary and why we choose to live here, or at least why you should visit. Thanks for tuning in. In today's podcast, we're interviewing Graham Sherman. In 2013 or so, Graham announced to his wife, "Honey, we don't make money anymore. We make beer." And thus, Tool Shed was launched. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast as much as I enjoyed interviewing Graham. I've known Graham for a few years now and had no idea what an interesting story he has and the passion he shares for his community and all things bringing people together. Enjoy the show. We have Graham Sherman on the line from Tool Shed Brewery. Thanks for joining us, Graham.
Thanks for having me. It's always an honor to get to chat. So thank you.
Excellent. Well, Graham, it's kind of coincidentally, I was talking to my sister was in Halifax at a real estate convention recently, and she sort of texted me, "Hey, do you know Graham Sherman?" And I'm like, "Yes, we have run together," and I had no idea that you were on that speaking tour. And Graham, we met about 2 years ago when we together, and along with about 150 other people, broke not one but two world records, Guinness World Records. Yeah. It's the only world record I've ever broke. I mean, I'm sure that maybe
me too.
More, but tell the audience about that.
Well, that was a really neat thing. I mean, obviously we have some tremendous mutual friends who are incredible in their athletic accomplishments. And Blaine Penny is a champion of running, but also of his charity support for mitochondrial disease. The Mito Canada charity is one that's become near and dear to a lot of Calgarians' hearts because of what an incredible man Blaine Penny and his challenges with that disease in his family are. So Blaine comes to me and says, "Buddy, I'm thinking we should raise some awareness for mitochondrial disease by breaking this world record. There's a record for the most people tied together running a marathon. And what an amazing thing to go after. So we'll raise $1,000 each, and we'll try to break this world record." And I thought, okay, that's about a year to train. That's perfect. Because I used to do triathlons. I've done Ironman and a bunch of different things, but I haven't run since 2008. But I got a year, so I'll go raise the money. I'll get some friends to be a part of it as well, and let's go. Well, awesome idea, super fun thing to do. But as I've been building Tool Shed Brewing Company, of course, I haven't had the second to myself, and I had not run once that entire year.
Really?
And, so, did you know this about that day?
Oh, I didn't know that about you. No, that you hadn't run. No.
So it was actually right the day before the marathon, and I was sitting at the bar, and I was just busted up I'm like, I'm going to die tomorrow. I don't think I can run a marathon, but I can't let this team down. And so if you think to yourself, well, I'm going to go try to run a marathon tomorrow. Once it gets hard and you think maybe I can't do it, you just stop running, right? But when you're tied to 115 other people who can run a marathon, you have no choice but to keep running.
And so we were in the same pod, and you looked absolutely fine for the entire 26.2 miles.
No, that is false. I was a broken soul by about kilometer 10. I thankfully this podcast probably doesn't have video, so I can't show anybody actual pictures of my feet, which are permanently damaged forever. I've got disgusting toes. My toenails all fell off. Like while I was running, I broke my foot throughout that marathon. It was it was the most incredible. You know what it was for me? It was a microcosm for my business. You sometimes don't have the preparation.
Right.
You've jumped in too deep into the ocean, and but you have no choice now but to go run a marathon, and it hurts, and all the experts say it's impossible. You shouldn't be able to do it, but you just keep running. And
wow.
And that was actually a way more incredible day for me than just finishing the day with 2 Guinness World Records. Yeah. The people that were right beside me know the pain that I was in, and Myron Tetro is one of those absolute heroes that
Right.
helped me mentally and physically get across that finish line. And of course, Blaine Penny,
Yeah.
with his amazing son, who unfortunately does suffer from Mito disease. I remember at one of the arranged check stops, sitting at us on the steps, going, "I can't move. I can't get back to my feet. I'm in so much pain. It's unbearable." And Blaine came to me and said, "Buddy, get up and run because Evan can't."
Wow.
And what an inspiration! And so you muscle yourself back up to your feet and you finish that marathon, right? So
Incredible.
that's one of the most incredible, one of my most incredible things to have been a part of, and a really cool thing to look at from a business perspective as well. That's
Right.
That's running your own business.
And relating it back to really your life, I suppose, too.
So the records that were broken, we had, now how many people did we have? Was it 100, 112 or 113? I think?
Yeah, we were shooting for 150, and I think we had 112 or something like that. Yeah.
So it was the most people linked together running a full marathon in the approved amount of time. Like, you can't just take 10 hours to run a marathon. So a proper marathon has to be done under 6.5 hours. And we set out and we broke the world record for both the half marathon and the full marathon for most people linked together. And actually have our certificates from the Guinness Brewery for the Guinness World Records. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Have you got your? I did order the certificate. I have one. I actually don't know where it is now. Do you have yours proudly posted at Tool Shed?
I sure do. Oh no, mine's at my house because I always laugh with my boys because in our bathrooms we've got Uncle John's bathroom. We've also got Guinness World Record books, and I would say, "Yeah, no, I'm in there. Keep looking. I think I'm beside the guy with the long fingernails." I convince them that I'm in the book somewhere, but really I can show them the certificates at home.
That's wonderful. How old are your boys, by the way?
So my boys are right now are 13, 15, and 15.
Twins.
Well, they're Irish twins. A couple days ago, they were 13, 14, and 15.
Oh, wild. Wow. Yeah. You guys, wow.
We don't do anything half-ass.
Yeah, you guys just go. Yeah. That's great.
Absolutely, yeah.
Graham, let me ask a question. What most strikes you about living in Calgary?
Oh, man. Well, I can tell you, I'm not actually from Calgary. I was born in Winnipeg, and I grew up in BC. I actually moved here from Victoria, which is, I think, maybe one of the most beautiful places in our entire country. So, when you think about when most people kind of come to Alberta, I know very few people that were born here, but something about Calgary gets a hold of you. And I don't know exactly when it was that I started proudly declaring myself Albertan and a Calgarian. There's something about this city. There's this entrepreneurial, hardworking spirit that is something you want to be associated with. And despite how beautiful where I moved here from is, wow. There's something different about a place that captures you, gets a hold of you, and makes you proudly declare yourself Albertan when you're not born here, right?
When did you come to Calgary, and how did you happen to land in Calgary?
Yeah, so I actually, my education is in aviation. So I was in Victoria doing my pilot's license and my commercial license. I was very fortunate to get into the Mount Royal aviation program here in Calgary. So I moved here and got to work on getting my commercial pilot's license. And that was, what year would that have been? That was 1998 that I arrived in Calgary. Yep. But you know how life goes. You get aimed down a certain path, and you're doing different jobs, trying to pay for your pilot's license. And I've gone all over the world doing crazy jobs. But took a sharp left and actually got into IT. That's kind of a skill set of mine that I just possessed. I'm kind of a nerd at heart, and and I actually don't know if Brian, if you knew about the work that I did in IT before Tool Shed.
Well, I know about Afghanistan, and I'd like to hear about that.
Yeah, well, that's what I was wondering, because I mean, when I've seen you before, we've always been running. We've been trying to break records, or else trying to catch Coach Cal around that track.
Right. The last time I saw you was in the spring when we were huffing and puffing around the Mount Royal track.
That's right. That one I was training for that Trans Rockies Ultra Marathon, which was a
which I
ton of
want
fun
to
as well.
explore as well.
Yeah, but so the job in Afghanistan was a really cool thing. I worked on government and military IT infrastructure projects for all sorts of customers all across NATO. We had the U.S. Marine Corps. We did their all their tactical communications, and those types of communications need to be heavily encrypted, and it's actually a job now that they farm out to contractors. So I'm not in the military. I'm one of those private contractors that went over and lived in the war zone for quite some time, and worked on implementing these secure communication links for government and military customers. So from 2007 to 2010, on and off, that was my life with a wife and 3 kids home here in Calgary. I was rolling around Afghanistan and living a pretty dangerous life of getting. We got I've actually got bullets in my house that we pulled out of our vehicle, and you hear bombs going off, and there's all sorts of crazy stuff that goes on over there. It's a different world for sure.
Wow, that is wild, and fascinating to hear about that. So you were away in Afghanistan. So you moved to Calgary in 1998, and it sounds like, did you live and work while traveling around as a commercial pilot until sort of making that move into Afghanistan?
I did all sorts of different things. I actually got involved in marketing, and I was doing all sorts of different jobs as I was studying aviation and getting my pilot's license. I actually never took the first job in aviation. I got into sales and marketing and was working at a few companies along those lines until eventually I got this job, working in this IT company. I started actually in that company in the sales capacity as well. So it's weird when you think, I remember a friend of mine I was playing squash with, and he said, "Man, you're a sales guy." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm a pilot." He goes, "No, dude, you are a sales, like you. I listened to you talk. You're a sales guy," and I was almost offended by it. I'm like, "No, I'm actually a pilot." But he was right. That's what my love is working with people, and like sales and marketing is my that's definitely my skill set for sure.
It's interesting when you sort of, as a younger person, and coming to realize that. And I think it depends on kind of where you grew up and who you grew up with. But I had the exact same. My first business was an adventure tourism business on the east coast of Canada, but I was not really. While it was a very successful business, successful in brackets. The sales that just not being comfortable or not trying to push people into a decision sort of affected the business, because I didn't really want to be thought of as a salesperson.
Yeah.
And it was only after I got into real estate, for various reasons, and realized that this sales profession is excellent and I love it, and yes, I am a salesperson.
Yeah, well, I actually, back in the day, I read Robert Kiyosaki's book, that Rich Dad, Poor Dad book.
Right.
And the one thing that stood out to me in that book was that he said that everybody in every walk of life should get a job door-to-door selling, just to know how to work with people. Like, if you can knock on somebody's door when they're, watching Survivor in their living room and they don't want to be disrupted. No one likes their door getting knocked on. And you can turn that through building relationships quickly and authentically into a sale. Well, you can accomplish pretty much anything in any job. That was a really interesting concept to me, and I actually did that. I went and got a job selling door-to-door insurance.
Wow!
And nobody wants their door knocked on with the guy standing there saying, "Hey, let's talk about insurance," right?
Yeah.
But I did quite well at it. I was able to develop a skill set of quickly, engaging with people in an effective way that meant something good for both of us. So it was. I took it as a real challenge to what sales actually is, right?
Yeah. No, that's great. So, Graham, you've come. It sort of sounds like you've been in Calgary since about 1998 with various. Out things. So you've gone through a few, and this is kind of focused about lifestyle in Calgary, but also with a real estate bent. Tell me a little bit about your real estate decisions, and maybe some, your first home or in Calgary.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
interested
actually,
to hear a little bit about the the boom and bust cycles as it relates to our boom and bust cycles.
oh man, I've got actually quite an interesting story about that, because I was, it was around the same time that I was just kind of finding my way. I hadn't taken a job in aviation, and I'm renting a little house. I've got a new wife and a young little baby boy, and those new family struggles of renting a crappy, one bedroom main floor of a place. And I remember being grateful that we were renting a main floor of a house. We didn't have loud neighbors or annoying roommates, but you want to provide a home for your family. And this little boy that is just come into the world, and his room is the living room, and so we put some boards up to try to create some noise abatement for the little guy, and just like newlywed with the little kid struggles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I don't have any money and I don't have any credit, and I gotta get a house for my family. And I was looking at the newspaper one day, and there was this guy trying to sell this house in like the like literally in the classifieds at the end. And I thought, I wonder what I've heard about assumable mortgages. I wonder if there's any possibility that that's a thing for real. And I said, Trace, jump in the car. Let's go look at this house. And she was mortified at the thought of, we don't have any money or any ability to get a mortgage or credit or anything. And we were just going to jump in our car. And I said, well, I'll go ask him if he'll let me assume the mortgage. And she said, well, we don't have any money for anything, for even a down payment. I thought, well, I'll ask him if he'll give me a second mortgage for that, the deposit. And she was just so shocked that I would be so, brazen to ask for these things. And I went down, I met this gentleman, looked at the house, and he was a real estate kind of trader. He had multiplexes and all these different things. And he owned this home, and he was renting it to 5 different people for each room. Mm-hmm. And it was a nightmare for him. And I had said, well, can I assume it? And he said, sure. But I said, I don't have any money for the, any kind of cash to mortgage value that you might have in the home. How much equity do you have in the home that I'd have to come up with? And he said, oh, it's quite, leverage. So I think it was only like $12,000 or something. And I said, okay, well, I can come up with that over 6 months. And then when I make the final payment, you'd give me the title? And he said, sure. So I got a house, and it was literally the most insane thing. We went down and dealt with the legal stuff ourselves, and didn't even involve a lawyer. We went down to the offices downtown, and we went to the bank where he held the mortgage, and there was literally a piece of paper that said, I blank agree to pay mortgage number blank in the amount of blank. And so it's it was incredible that you could actually do that back then.
Wow.
And it was like this crooked thing on a photocopier, and it was unbelievable.
That is very cool, and I didn't have any idea that you had that experience. So you're creative and hardworking right from birth, probably then.
Maybe, I don't know. I still live in that house today. I absolutely love it.
Oh, you still live in that? That is great. So I was trying to do the math. You're saying roughly newborn baby.
Yeah.
Your oldest is 15 now. So is this 2005?
Yeah, I guess that was my youngest. So 13 years ago that was.
Okay, so that was. So is that like 2000? That's 2006. So the market had already increased quite a bit by this time.
No, it increased literally an hour later. It was unbelievable. And I remember, Brian, I bought this house for $180,000. This 5-bedroom house with 4 bathrooms, and it's not big. It's a smaller home, but my wife almost vomited at this overpaying of this property, right? And she's like, we don't have that money, and that's too much money in this market. And oh my goodness, it's unbelievable. The thing now, looking back, that's how we got our house. Right?
That's incredible. Because that time, I mean, for the listeners who are aware what was going on in that time, I think it was about December 2015 that started to increase, and then it just totally blew up. about May in 2005 to 2006.
Yeah.
So you must have bought it in that little window there. Good for you.
It was the tiniest little window, and everybody goes, "Oh, you were so smart." I'm like, it has nothing to do with smart.
Exactly.
It's not like I saw that boom coming and got in. I just hit the lottery, and I shouldn't even say the lottery. It was very fortunate that we got in when we did, because truly, what that allowed me to do was when the boom happened, our house was all like almost seemingly overnight worth double. It allowed me to put some money into the business that I eventually started. So it's because of that very fortunate transaction and the ability to be creative with somebody and say, I got no money, I got no credit, but I'll assume the mortgage. Well, that allowed for some of the seed money that helped me start my business.
Wow. So yes, I think when that sort of thing happens, oh yeah, I was smart. I was watching the economic trends. I was seeing, what was happening. A lot of people would take credit for that smartness, and I'm pleased to hear you say that you were lucky, because it's just timing, right? So everything's. Totally. I often hear the saying about real estate, location, 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 which I think is probably true and has a lot of truth. But at the same time, I think, especially in Alberta, in my experience since moving here in 2003, it's a lot about timing.
I believe that for sure, right? And how can we tell what's going to happen? I mean, there's people like yourself that know the market better than most, of course. But for, I think, the average person, you're buying a house because the time is right for what's going on in your life and your family. So for us, it was just I was trying to be creative because I knew I had to provide for my wife and my little boy, and now I've got 3 sons, and thank goodness there's enough bedrooms for the family.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. Sort of relating again to the boom bust economy of Calgary. Now, we've both had friends that have purchased the home a year or two later, or maybe purchased in like the last high markets of 2013 and 14, and are maybe going through, they have to move and they've purchased their home or condos for more than they're worth today. Graham, I'm surprised, living in Alberta, that you're actually, and I think you said that you're still in that same house. I'm surprised and impressed. And how did you manage to, because like 2 or 3 years later, you're rich because of the equity you owned in that home, or, in sort of, in a lot of ways, we thought we were. How come, like most Albertans, you didn't upgrade your home and over leverage yourself?
Yeah, I don't, I actually never really had the desire to continue to upgrade the home. Our house is perfect. It's actually just a little starter home. We don't have a garage, and it's in a little cul-de-sac down in Mackenzie Lake. But I've never really been that person that needs to continually have the biggest, fanciest house. Every single person I know has a nicer house than me, for sure. But I still drive my Tacoma that has almost 600,000 kilometers on it, and it still runs like a dream. So I love that truck. And my kids hate me for it, but I think it's I don't know. I think it's a bit of a mentality about just having some gratitude for what I have, rather than, I don't know, trying to keep up with the appearance of a nicer, newer house. As my boys grow right now, we're starting to think the house is getting a little small for 3 men that have now taken over all aspects of the home. Yeah. But at the same time, I've got this awesome barbecue island that I built in the backyard, and I've got all these cool projects that I've built into the house that I go, I can't sell this house, but the barbecue in the backyard. Right? Wow. Yeah,
that is fantastic. Yeah. And so, in terms of you've been an entrepreneur, and at the same, and I think you started his Tool Shed was 2013. Is that right?
Yeah, we started brewing in my backyard tool shed in that house in February 2012, and Tool Shed was in the market the following winter. So it was winter of 2013 that we were on the shelves.
Great. I was doing a little reviewing of your social footprint, and I read or saw something along the lines of, when you quit your job and to announce to your wife, honey, we don't make money anymore, we make beer.
Yeah, she didn't think that was as funny as I did. But my wife doesn't drink beer. She hates beer. So you can't go in the house and have that conversation, babe. What do you think if we quit our well-paying government military job and homebrew for a living, right? Like that's not a conversation that's possible. So I just did it.
And then in the backyard of the,
Yeah.
this is great in the tool shed. Wonderful.
Yeah. And it was born truly out of, my co-founder and I just loved taking hobbies too far and especially hobbies that bring people together. And that's my dream. It's like the deck that I built in the backyard of this house with that barbecue island, man. Brian, there's nothing I would love more than to just host you coming over, trying the coffee that I make, because it's insane. The espresso machine and the roasting operation I have in my basement for roasted coffee. And, if you came over for ribs, man, you wouldn't believe the barbecue that I do. Actually, in 2 weeks, I get to go down to Lynchburg, Tennessee for the Jack Daniel's Invitational World Championship of Barbecue. It's been a dream forever to get to compete in the World Championships of anything. And I made it for cooking fatty meat.
Wow.
Not running.
That is great.
Yeah. So, but it's along the same lines of I absolutely adore these hobbies that bring good times with good people, together. And so I think beer was a very obvious next step, and so we get to create those good times now, and to watch the community around us just smile from ear to ear.
I was on your Twitter account recently and saw, and I was commenting from drinking your beer in the past. And you have some really great names of your beers. What are some of your favorite names of your beers? And maybe tell me like how you came up with those names.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, of course, People Skills is our most popular beer. And that's our nice, light, easy drinking cream ale. And People Skills is a great name for a beer, I think, because, I've the concept of, what, man, you need a pint of People Skills is awesome. But it's actually named after a gentleman that we worked with over in Afghanistan. And when you look at the can, it's got a picture of him on it.
Oh,
and
I saw that, yeah.
he's ex-military from New Jersey, and he worked in Afghanistan with us on the Afghan National Army and National Police contracts. But he's actually, more importantly, the biggest asshole I've ever met. And I mean that, not like you say to your pals, like, man, I love you, but you're being a bit of an ass. I mean, he's such a jerk. We nicknamed him People Skills because he's got absolutely none of them. and he used to hate when we'd call him that. But, some kind of comment would come out of his mouth and we'd say, oh, come on, People Skills, calm down. And he's stop calling me that. And I'll give you an example. There was a time when you're over in Afghanistan, you don't get to talk to your family. My wife doesn't know what I'm doing or where I'm doing it. It's a really hard job to have with a family back home because of the secret nature of what we're doing and the security on where we are, what we're doing, and who we're doing it for. So I don't get to talk to my wife very often. And when I did, what an awesome treat that was. And you'd go into another room and you'd have a video call, with your family. And I had books that I brought to read my kids their bedtime stories over Skype. And, when you can finally do that, it's great. But Joe wasn't that way. And one night we're all sitting there, or it was during the day that we were in Afghanistan, that we were sitting there, and his wife calls and he goes, oh God, and puts her on speakerphone in front of us all. And we're like, what the heck are you doing? Go talk to your wife, People Skills. And he says to her, what is it? And she says, honey, you wouldn't believe it. I've been working so hard. I can't wait for you to get home and see me. I've lost 20 pounds. And Joe's response is, don't worry, you'll find it. Yes. And we're laughing our heads off because that's a funny comment. I've lost 20 pounds. Don't worry, you'll find it. And he's not laughing. He's saying, what? What's so funny? What are you laughing about? Because he's serious about it.
Wild.
Yeah. So just that kind of a guy. And so the nickname People Skills was a very fun thing for us to refer to Joe as. And so Joe's on the can.
Nice.
Because I feel like everybody has a Joe that they could buy a 6-pack of People Skills for, right?
Wow, that is great. Yeah. And then I was again seeing there was talk to our staff. They'd love to talk to you a little bit about our protest pale ale.
Oh yeah,
I think I have an idea about what that is all on, and I saw some kudos towards Tool Shed for that. Can you tell us about that most recent? I don't know if it's the most recent beer, but it's recent, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So that beer is an important one for us at Tool Shed for sure, because we recently just had the big LGBTQ celebration in Pride Week here in Alberta. And so, we've got an incredibly diverse mix of staff here. And this was one of the issues that they really wanted to bring some awareness to. And the protest that LGBTQ started out as and continues to be to this day is something that our staff take a lot of pride in bringing into the forefront in any way possible. So I think this beer specifically represents that we're at a time right now where you can loudly and proudly put this type of passion onto the can of beer. And whether the story is about the biggest asshole you ever met or, something in your community that you take a lot of pride in and you want to show where you're supportive. This was our pride. Whoops, sorry. I'm getting attacked by a fly here. This was a beer that we took pride in supporting Pride Week.
Wow, it's just going over and over about your sort of support of community and bringing people together.
That's it. This is
things you do, all your hobbies.
If beer isn't all about being inclusive, I don't know what is.
Right.
Beer's about bringing. And I'll tell you, Brian, this was part of why we were so passionate about quitting our jobs and going after that. I truly think that it's the secret of life. Is that if you can just bring people together and make people happy all day, you sleep like a baby at night. And life doesn't have to be more complicated. Now, running this brewery is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I never was even close to as terrified in Afghanistan as I have been, building this business. But that being said, at the core of why we do it, the passion behind what drives us to get up in the morning and continue to scream loud and proud about this industry and this province and agriculture and the farmers and what it all goes into, what goes into our beer. It all comes down to that at the end of the day, we get to make everyone around us happy all day. How great is that, right?
It is great. Good for you. Getting back to your Trans Rockies run, of course, I have lots of interest in that. You did 120 miles in, it sounded like 6 days.
That's right, yes.
And there was a ton of Calgarians there, I think. And
there was,
as a community, we did really well there. Tell us about your experience. And I saw your Strava, and it didn't look like you had done a whole lot of training.
Zero training again. Yeah, and
but no blisters.
That was pretty incredible. I lost a bunch of toenails, but not one blister. So this was another challenge that when I actually originally met you running with Coach Cal, I only got out to I think 2 or 3 sessions, and it was in preparation trying to get ready for Trans Rockies. But I signed up, a year before, thinking, okay, this time I'm going to train. And of course, the same thing. You get involved in more. The business is much bigger now, and it's successful and it's fantastic. But then I went through a transition of buying out original co-founders and business partners. So there was a huge transaction that I got engaged with at the brewery, and had to raise millions of dollars and get involved with, tax liability and lawyers and all the things that go behind a massive transaction like that. And of course, once again, you're up in the middle of the night writing business plans, putting deals together and working with investors, and you just don't have a second to yourself to run. And I got, once again, the day before the start line, having a beer at a brewery going, oh God, last time I had to run a marathon. This time I have to run 4 back to back.
Incredible that you're able to actually get it done. Good for you.
Well, and again, I look at everything as a metaphor, right? And if you've ever seen that movie Free Solo, where the guy climbs that mountain with no ropes, I watched that movie with my jaw on the floor, and I thought of it as the best business movie I've ever seen. I mean, that's what it is. Starting a business, you're hanging on this wall. There's no reason you should be there. One slip and everyone dies, and you just keep climbing, and you just got to know that you've done enough in your life to know where the next hold is and make good decisions on that cliff. And so same thing at the Trans Rockies. You wake up in the morning. I woke up to hearing people crying some mornings because you finish the day's stage and it's just under a marathon. You'll do like some days are 20 2 kilometers, and some days are 40 something kilometers, but it's 20,000 feet of elevation gains throughout the event, and parts of it you're running through Vail and through the Leadville, areas of Colorado. That's up at 12,500 feet of elevation. So there's altitude sickness, and it's cold at some parts, and your knees blow out, and your muscles aren't ready for that, and you're sleeping outside in these tents in the cold at the top of that mountain, and you get up in the morning and you go,
let's do it
okay,
again.
I gotta start running.
I signed up for this.
Yeah, and I'm gonna do it tomorrow and the next day. And you literally, there's not a thing on earth that could have stopped me from crossing that line. And at the end of that 6th day, and I got her done. Yeah, that was an incredible thing to get through. And Calgary had sent an incredible contingent of course our running community is pretty close, and we know a lot of each other, and that entire Mito crew came down and just dominated almost every division. Like if if there was a Calgarian in the race, they pretty much won their division, except for me. I'm the sweeper. I'm the Mito sweeper who just gets across that line. I'll never have toenails again, but other than that, I get across the line.
That's incredible that you've done that. Now, what's next for you, Graham? Do you have any other thing in the calendar, like some crazy Ironman or run or anything right now?
Well, actually, I've been thinking that I probably have done enough of proving my point of going out after these things that I shouldn't be able to accomplish, but do. Yeah. I've done Ironman off the couch with no training. I did that world record marathon and then an ultra 200K marathon trail run like that. I don't think I need that. I don't think I need to put my body through that anymore.
Right.
But what I really think is an important thing for me, and what I've learned through all this, is the mornings that I've been able to get up and just go for a run are some of the most healthy mental parts of my day, to get my head straight and to get through things and to get clarity. And as much as our bodies try to convince us not to get out of bed in the morning, it's like, man, I feel like I'm my own worst enemy in the morning, laying in bed going, get up, you sack of crap, and get running. Your body doesn't want to do it. But once you do, boy, it sets your day off in such an incredible way. What I'm trying to get myself into now is a regular routine of training for something that's a little bit more realistic. So I love running, I love biking, I love swimming, and so the Xterra trail, style triathlons, I think, are right up my alley. So that's my next goal, is to get myself, just healthy and training in the mornings, and start doing something that is a little bit less insane than a 200 kilometer Trans Rockies race.
Oh, good for you. Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll see at the Canmore Xterra in probably August this year, or in 2020.
That's right. Yeah, I want to be ready for that. That's my goal now, is to be ready for that.
I want to ask, being of service. What was being of service? What did that mean in your household when you were growing up in Victoria? What were some of your jobs around the house, like regarding dishes, garbage removal, that sort of thing? And then I'd like you to relate that possibly to marketing and what you do now with Tool Shed.
Totally. Yeah, that's a great question, because I love the concept of service. I just love hosting, having people over. I just love serving people, and there's nothing better than when people come to your home and what you can do for them makes them just beam, right? And so I put a lot of time and effort into that coffee concept. So you will never know what is going on at my house, but you come over for coffee and I give you a nice espresso, or I give you like a latte, and you go, holy crap, that's the best coffee I've ever had. And I go, oh, thanks. Right. But I think your question was well put, in that it comes from, how you were raised. And one of the things that my mother used to do all the time was every week, I had my day that I got to cook, and my parents didn't just cook for me. They didn't do my laundry. They didn't make my breakfast in the morning. They empowered me to be self-sufficient. And part of what I fell in love with was when it was my day to cook, my mom wouldn't say, go look and see what you're going to cook for dinner. She wanted me to research a crazy thing that we had never had, and let's learn how to make it. And I remember one day saying, I I think this escargot concept is crazy to me. Like, what the heck are people eating snails for? And so off my mom and I went to learn, where do you buy escargot and how do you cook it? And we went and got all the little shells so it looked presentable. And she would encourage me to creatively research cool things to make for dinner for the family, right? And sometimes some of the kids get excited about it and some don't. My middle son right now has totally picked up that torch and loves coming to compete and barbecue with me and loves, he just last night, actually, my wife sent me a text saying, look at what your son just presented me with for dinner. She was at home with a migraine, and Hugh went into the kitchen and put this meal together. And, as a young teenager, just taking the initiative to go and make a meal to put mom's mind at ease. That's the secret, right? So it's pretty awesome.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Getting maybe towards the end of our interview, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Why or why not are you staying in Calgary?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I don't come from an agricultural background, and I didn't know when I started brewing that Alberta has the greatest barley on the freaking planet. And so as I was fighting to help change laws so we could get brewing here in Alberta, like, our story is an incredible one of overcoming legislation and all the typical roadblocks of trying to get a brewery started. But along the way, I learned about this incredible, natural, beautiful resource of the barley that we have in this province. And you can liken it to we're the Napa Valley of grapes. We are the same for barley here in Alberta. So my goal, and when I wanted to start this brewery, the laws were such that I should have just gone home to BC and started my brewery out there. It would have been easy. I could have started a tiny little brewery. But I got really emotionally involved in the middle of this oil and gas crash in our province, that nobody was standing up to say, well, agriculture is the second biggest contributor to GDP in our country. Why the hell aren't we diversifying and looking at craft beer as an awesome way to grow the economy in this province? And the laws that were in place at the time were so prohibitive to breweries getting started. There was no breweries in the place. We had 2 breweries in Calgary. It was Big Rock and Wild Rose. If you went to BC, there was 120 breweries. And so I kind of took it as another, I don't know, this was kind of my Trans Rockies of the time, or the Guinness World Record run of the time, was to say, we got to get that changed so that the world knows that if you want to go on a wine tour, you go to the best places where the grapes grow. You're going to go to Napa or Italy. But if you're going to look for the best beer on earth, we need to get standing up more loud and proud that that's what we have right here in this province. So the more I learned about what's going on in agriculture, and the more I learned about these incredible barley farmers who are doing the greatest work on earth, and then what's happening, just like most things in Canada, we're shipping off this beautiful natural resource to other countries and then buying the finished product back at a premium, because we buy all these beautiful beers that use Alberta barley, but we weren't brewing with them here. So I've kind of picked up a torch, if you will, and said I think that our brewery stands for something much bigger than just we brew great beer. I love beer. I love making unique beers, and I love the staff that we have here now that have taken the ability to brew beers way beyond what I was ever able to do. We have some incredible products here, but more importantly, I think what's needed is a louder voice in this province about agriculture and supporting our barley farmers globally, so that the world knows that if you want the best beer, you come here. So I can never move away from this place. I'm as I don't know, proud of being Albertan as I think anybody is, and I just I take it on as a personal task to make it known around the world. And so that's why I do so much speaking. A lot of the talks that I give are agricultural based. So
that's terrific, wonderful. So when you started in 2013, it sounded like there was 2 breweries, Wild Rose and what was the other one?
So yeah, the Big Rock and Wild Rose were the 2 production breweries, right?
That's right. And then now there's a plethora. Is there any idea how is our craft industry doing? What are
So we went from 12 breweries province wide to now there's almost 130. And every one of them's hiring Albertans, and every one of them's using Alberta barley, and every one of them is contributing to economic development in this city and in this province. So there's a ton of research out there that from not just independent organizations, but the Canadian Conference Board that shows every dollar you spend on drinking a local craft beer contributes $1.12 to that local economy. So it takes a group of people getting excited about why we drink local craft beer, what it does for Alberta, and sharing that story over and over and over until everyone in the world knows it.
It's awesome. You have a great story, and it's obvious that you're sharing it. And I have a question here. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt? But I don't know if we need that question today, do we? Is there any profession that you do other than what you're doing? You sound like you're doing exactly what you want. Awesome.
I thought I wanted to be a pilot, and it was actually when I was talking to my wife about potentially going over to Afghanistan that she said, of course, at first she's horrified and she thinks I'm going to die and our kids are going to grow up without a dad. And we went to bed and just kind of slept on it that night. And the next morning she got up and said, "You have to go." And I'm like, "Okay, what do you mean?" And she says, "You would have lost your mind if you had become a pilot, because you couldn't sit in a plane all day, just sitting at the controls. You loved learning about systems and engines and airframes and meteorology and theory of flight. And you're a nerd. And you got to always challenge yourself, and you got to always go through things that you don't think anybody else can do. Like you got to go to Afghanistan. And when you're a nerd like that and you're trying to challenge yourself and find new ways to, I don't know, I guess, I think the best way to put it is I've come to this realization that the concept of your parents telling you got to live up to your potential. I think that's crap. That's not a quantifiable, achievable goal. What is your potential? So for me, I look at it and say, every day I got to wake up and challenge my potential. I don't know what my potential is. So every day I'm going to get up and scare the shit out of myself thinking, I'm going to get in over my head and see if I can pull it off. And I continue to do it. So I haven't hit the ceiling yet. But when you get into an industry like brewing, well, that is a nerd's dream come true. It's like golf. How good can you be? And the slightest little changes, it's such a complex thing. Although it's just 4 ingredients in beer, there's limitless variables. It's a nerd's dream come true, isolating those variables, controlling them one at a time, and trying to make a better product. I'll be content for the rest of my life trying to put better products out there, and trying to make the effect of the products that we put out there more impactful for our city and our province. So I think that's a solid life. I don't need to look for anything else. That's for sure.
It's exciting to see how you've come and what you've taken, and it's going to be exciting to watch down the road. And
I appreciate that.
Looking forward to that. Graham, how can people follow you or reach out? What's the best way to follow the story? Social channels?
Well, totally. Yeah, we've of course our feeds on Insta and Twitter are at Tool Shed Beer, and personally, I'm always running around doing crazy things too, and my handle's at Sherman Deluxe. And Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you name it, we're on there screaming loud and proud about what we're passionate about, and we love everybody to come along for the journey and take part in it with us.
Graham, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an honor and privilege to get to know you a whole lot better than when we're huffing and puffing on the track.
Yeah,
and I look forward to doing more of that and laying high fives.
You betcha, Brian. Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor.
We'll talk again soon.
Okay.
Thanks again.
Bye for now.
Bye now. Well, that just about wraps up today's show. I think I'll go out and get myself some people skills right now. But first, if you know someone who should be on this podcast, Calgary Living, Real Estate and Lifestyle, or if you have an idea on a topic that we need to cover, please reach out on any of the various social channels. You can find me on Insta at Calgary_living, on Twitter at Calgary_life, or LinkedIn and Facebook, or simply send an email to Brian, BRYON, at thehowardteam.net, or better, call me